Hello and welcome to Hour of Power with Ali Samana on One Solar TV. Have you ever wondered what makes some people successful in their chosen fields while others struggle in the same field? What makes some people excel and do great things, achieve beyond imagination, while others work hard day to day but don't really get where they want to go? That's what this show is going to be about. I hope you will enjoy and follow us along in the season as we progress through and we talk to different guests and we talk about their life, their journey, their experiences, but most importantly, their success stories. You know what makes a success even sweeter? When there's failure involved. So we'll be talking candidly about success, about failure. Today's guest is a friend of mine that I've had the pleasure of knowing for so many years. He's an accomplished attorney, a very successful entrepreneur, but more importantly, he is leading the path in the Texas political forum. I want you to help me welcome my friend and current Euless City Council member, Salman Bhojani. Salman, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So please help me welcome my friend and a candidate for State House, Salman Bhojani. Salman, welcome to One Solar TV.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Now, so tell us a little bit about your campaign. Campaigning kaise ja rahi hai?
Campaign is going well. We've knocked on about 12,000 doors already, and we have made 10,000 calls, and we have raised about $215,000 for our campaign.
Wow.
And election is about 33 days away.
Not that you're counting or anything. Not that it's an important day that you've been working hard for. When did you announce?
I announced in October of last year.
Okay, so it's been about 3.5 months
or so, yeah.
Give or take.
Yes.
Now, not a lot of people know this. Campaigning is hard.
Absolutely.
Right? People see the glory. They see the power. They see the ability to get things done.
Yes.
Right? And power in a good way. Right? Power can be utilized to do good for society. They don't see the 12,000 doors knocked. They don't see the 10,000 plus calls made, the $215,000 raised, but that probably took thousands and thousands of hours and calls and talking to people.
Absolutely.
Tell me about that journey.
Yeah, it's been really, really tough. I'm spending about 12 to 14 hours a day on the campaign, neglecting family and neglecting my business, but it is something I really believe in. I'm really passionate about this. And I think, the only sure way to win a campaign is to do these things and make sure that you're reaching out to the voters and talking to them. And the best way to talk to a voter is on their door as you knock on the door. It's hard work. I mean, my shoes are almost going to give up, but I think it is hard work. You have to do that.
Yeah. State House doesn't pay a lot.
Nothing. I guess I have $70 to $100 a year.
Yeah,
so
$600 a month.
Yep.
Right. I'm sure being an attorney pays a little better.
Absolutely.
So tell me the motivation. I'm an entrepreneur. I am an IT professional or an attorney, a doctor. I'm doing well. I've done well. Why? Why should I decide to put 12 to 14 hours a day back into work? Because this is work.
Yes.
What is the benefit?
I guess I have to take you back a little bit to see why I started, at least. So 2016, we had elected our former president. And I was explaining to my kids how this person that preys on the divisiveness of American society is going to rule a great nation. And so that's when the journey started for me, where, January 2017 happens and he instituted a Muslim ban. And so I'm at the DFW airport as an attorney trying to get people out of that airport. And I felt this is wrong, right? As an attorney, I know that you cannot discriminate based on religion. And so I felt that if I'm not going to be part of the politics, or part of that, what I want to see the change, I will never be able to, make a difference in the community. And so, like Mahatma Gandhi said, you need to be the change that you want to see in the world. And so that's when I threw my name in the hat and I said, look, enough is enough. I'm no longer going to sit on the sidelines. I'm going to put my name in the hat. And that's when I ran for city council. And since then, it's been really a great idea.
Hang on, I'm sorry. Sure. And I'll let you continue because the story, because a lot of times, look, I've been on campaigns, I've run campaigns.
Yes.
We do this 10 times a day.
Yes.
Right? I want us to slow down. I want us to really get to the meat of it.
Sure.
Because what you just said is powerful, right? What you said is, I can relate, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers can relate. let's go back for a second.
Sure.
Okay. So we're going into the 2016 election. I think it was November 6th, if I remember correctly, of 2016. 12 days before the FBI drops a memo that we're now investigating the former Secretary of State at that time. But the odds look like Hillary's going to win.
Yes.
Talk to me about that election day as Salman Bhojani, the attorney, who's not necessarily involved in politics. Talk to me about that day.
About
the election day. What were you feeling as a citizen?
I did not vote for our former president, and all the polls had indicated that he would lose and that Hillary Clinton would win. It didn't happen because I think there are a lot of people that he riles up, and that's his base, and I was blind to that. I did not know that there are people who hate immigrants to a certain degree that they'll come out and vote for anybody that just says what they want to hear.
So you're sitting there, you're a political nerd, with all due respect, like myself.
Yeah.
Okay, I was up till, I don't know, 3, 4 a.m., even though I have to go to work the next day, watching the election results come in. I remember that feeling. What was that feeling for you?
It was a regret that I didn't do enough to, help this outcome from happening, basically, right?
How did it make you feel about America?
Yeah, it made me feel this is not the America that I came to this country for, right? The values that I had espoused or I wanted it, to be displayed were no longer displayed, and so that's what was very disappointing. I mean, that morning was very grim, and I saw that across the board as I met more people, and they just said, never again will we let this happen, right? But
how did that change you in what you did for the national election, the presidential election in 2020?
Yeah, so I really helped, Biden's campaign, Biden-Harris campaign. I met with Kamala Harris as well when she came to, Fort Worth here. And I was elected to Euless City Council at that time, obviously, so she had invited all the elected officials. And I, did as much as possible, donated, did block walk and everything for the campaign.
So it was no longer for granted?
No, absolutely. Yeah, we had to work hard for it this time, absolutely.
It was different, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
I'll share with you my thoughts on that day, because I think as an American, it was the second saddest day of my life, just as a general American.
After 9/11?
After 9/11. I sat up and I didn't want to move. I felt immobile. I call myself a political nerd. And I felt, now we're in Texas.
Sure.
Your vote didn't count, let's be honest. Right,
sure.
It goes to 26. I think it's still 26.
38 electoral votes.
I don't know where I got 26 from, but 38 electoral votes all went to Trump.
Yes.
In 2016 and in 2020 in Texas. But I felt this is not the America that I believed in. That's how I felt. I felt let down by our country.
Absolutely.
And the problem is, and I call it the problem. See, if we were back home in Pakistan, we're both immigrants.
Yes.
We could say dhangli, right? It's a word that means there was temperament and this is not a fair election. You can't say that in 2016. You can't say that in America, right? It doesn't really happen. Now, I found out 4 years later, you can say that. If you lose, you can say that.
Say that, yes.
But I was sitting there and it was not like back home. I truly believed in the integrity of the elections.
Yes.
But I felt let down by my own countrymen. Was that kind of how you felt?
Absolutely, yeah. It was exactly how I felt, and it was too late to do anything about it. That's what was really killing me. Right?
We were stuck for 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
We were stuck for 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay, you talk about the Muslim man. Now you're bringing up a lot of points that I can relive. I can talk about because they were also very impactful in my life. I remember Muslim ban directly, and I call it the Muslim ban. I don't care what the court said. It was a Muslim ban. You put one other country in there that's not majority Muslim to get around the courts because you put people in there.
Yes.
Still the Muslim ban. So did you talked about going to the airport. I was not fortunate enough to do that, and I'll share that later. What was it like?
It was really grim. As an attorney, we were there, right? We knew what our rights were. And so that's what we wanted to support our Muslim brothers and sisters and say that this is a discrimination against faith. And our founding fathers basically had thought of this before and separated that church and state already. So why we're bringing this whole thing, and that's why we said this is unconstitutional and you need to release these folks. And so we were blessed to have been able to release some of the folks as well.
Any specific stories that come to mind?
No, it's been a long time. Yeah, and maybe for the protection of the people, but yeah.
No. Yeah, I mean, I remember, and I mean here in DFW, and these are just general stories. People being stuck for over a day.
Oh yeah. Couple of days. Yeah,
right. Couple of days.
Several days. Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, where were they being held when they're being
at the airport?
What was
before
that,
the customs.
What was the environment like? Do you know any of that? Like, was it like
we didn't get
cell?
too much inside, but we were trying to get access to them, and we were not allowed that
so
as well.
an attorney, you were not allowed.
Yeah, because we were not representing them, right? And so they had to say that these they are our attorneys and all that, right? So
were they U.S. citizens?
They were U.S. citizens, yes.
Okay.
Some of them were.
Some of them were.
Yes.
So we're very proud as immigrants when we get that certificate, right, of naturalization. I served with a lot of immigrants. I am an immigrant. And I remember when a lot of those immigrant active duty members, not even veterans, would get to be put in for their their naturalization. It's a big day.
It is. Absolutely.
For a lot of these guys, it's bigger than the day that they joined the service, right? And when you join the service, it's a big day. So we believe that day that I am just as American
as anybody else. Exactly.
And on when 45 became president, he just with a stroke of a pen, with an executive order, said you are not the same category.
All our rights, right?
How does that? What message should that give our future generation or those that are watching? I was involved in politics, by the way, when I was in high school. Right, yes. So I went to high school down the street in Frisco, and we were involved as teenagers, right? We talked about it, we discussed it. You've got a 16-year-old that can't vote. He's listening to Salman, Bhojani, and Ali Samana because his remote is stuck and he can't find a way out. So, what message do you give him about that particular moment? About how should America have reacted, all of us as citizens, when some citizens' rights were taken?
Yeah, and exactly, and that's why I entered politics, because we wanted to have our rights and we wanted to have a seat at the table, right? As the saying goes, if you don't have a seat at the table, then you're on the menu.
On the table.
On the menu, right?
On the menu, yeah.
And Muslims have been on the menu for far too long. And that's the message I got from January 17 in 2017, those events. And I felt, really passionate about getting involved and shaping our laws so that way they are not discriminatory, right? And that's why a 16-year-old looking at this interview right now should really be energized and say, okay, what can I do to help this so that way it doesn't happen again to us?
One of the days that I think really changed history for America, and I'll again speak to the viewers for myself. I was in high school. Nobody knew where Pakistan was from, where Pakistan was on the map. Nobody really knew what Muslims were. Just people didn't know. Right? And then all of a sudden, 9/11 happens, and everybody knows everything about Islam. And everybody is an expert on countries like Pakistan and Saudi Arabia and Yemen and other Muslim majority countries. What was that day like for you?
9/11?
9/11.
It was, again, very sad day. I was going to college at that time, so obviously colleges got cancelled, and I'm looking at these, we kept on looking at that same image of the,
Twin Towers.
The Twin Towers, being hit by the planes, and it was just very, very sad to figure out that such a great power had attacked America. And that, we don't think as Americans that, this could happen, but it really shook the really foundation of America.
One of the things that I found odd was the entire religion of 1 billion plus people was represented by 19 individuals.
Exactly. That's a good way of putting it. That's unfortunate, but yes, that's how Americans put it that way.
Right. What did Muslims do, from what you saw, from what you were involved with, to kind of help rebuild America, to kind of help show that we're not the same?
They were the firefighters that entered that area. They were the doctors that treated the patients. They were they were the business owners that contributed money to make sure that we have a fund to take care of this. And so I think Muslims were doing everything that they could. But again, it did not stop the people that were ignorant about the faith of Islam to say that judge every other Muslim based on the 19 people that attacked the 9/11 towers and stuff. So I think that's the unfortunate reality, right? Like my parents had a jewelry store, and so people would make it a point to come and say that we're not going to give you business because you're a terrorist and you're Muslim. And they would go across the hall to give business to a Caucasian jewelry owner and then show us a receipt that they bought it from there. Like that's how mean they were, right? And not just giving us hatred, but just going out of their way to give that hatred because they knew that we were Muslims. And so that's the unfortunate reality that Muslims had to face after 9/11.
Exactly, and it was. A lot of times I'm baffled at how history changes, and that was the day that changed history. And I think in the long run, it brought credence to what 45 was saying, right? There was a lot of, so from 2001, Bush was president. I actually worked on his campaign before I could vote for him, and I was proud. I'll tell you the moment that I was proud when he walked into a masjid and recited from the Quran. I think he did it on a Friday.
Wow.
Now, he was a Republican.
Yes.
And he did it as a Republican, and more important than Republican or Democrat, as the nation that had been attacked, its leader.
Yes.
Right? And he said it was not a faith that had attacked us, it was these 19 individuals.
Yes.
So you go from then Bush to Obama, and then from Obama, there's this hate.
Yes.
There's this rhetoric. There's this anti-immigrant. I mean, just a campaign just run on vile discourse and language. What do you think in those 14 years gave it? Was there real underlying reasons for it, or was it, in your opinion, just fear?
I think there are genuinely people out there who hate immigrants, who hate Muslims, who hate minorities, and they were not getting a voice. Right, their voices were being suppressed because we had a president that was African American. We had a president, who was sympathetic to minorities, and so they had their sort of voices packed in a box, so to speak, right? And to open up that box, who would open up that box? So our former president was the one that opened up that box for them. What the living room conversations that were being had now could come out in the streets and be open. That was a license that was given by our former president to those people to say, hey, don't just sit in your living room, come out in the street and do. And that's exactly what happened on January 6th as well. Again, another terrible day in American history, but again, fueled by the same white supremacy or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That's where this is coming from, the hatred towards the minorities and immigrants and other faiths.
So if your audience was somebody that wasn't, they didn't like immigrants. They felt that, hey, we have our own that we can take care of. Lots of times veterans are brought up in this conversation for some odd reason that, hey, we should take care of our veterans. Not that it's an either or. What would you say to them? So look them right in the eye and tell them what Salman Bhojani, the candidate, Salman Bhojani, the attorney, Salman Bhojani, the entrepreneur, would say to somebody that doesn't like him because he's an immigrant.
Yeah, I guess learn to get to know them better, right? I think that's when you find out what that person is composed of, what do they stand for, what their values are. That's when you'll understand that individual, and every individual is based on what their value system is. Whether the faith does only inspires them to do good things in life, right? And every faith teaches that. No faith teaches to kill people or become a terrorist or whatnot. So there are some people that are bad, not the faith. Every faith has certain extremists and certain moderate. I mean, out of a billion plus people, most of them are moderate. Muslims are moderate. They really condemn all these attacks and condemn all these terrorist activities. But I think that's how it is, right? When your neighbors get to know you, they find a Muslim and they're like, oh, this Muslim is actually a good person. I didn't even know, right? That's when you'll realize more that it's actually the person and not the faith that is good or bad.
Yeah, I used to tell, when I would have these interfaith dialogues, I used to tell people that at that time the statistics were that it was 1.2 billion Muslims, and I would tell them, and they would cite all of these right-wing conspiracies that this percentage of Muslims are extremists and this percentage of Muslims are extremists. And I used to tell them, I said, you know what, let me just take your word for it. Let's say 10% of Muslims are extremists. And I would tell them, I said, if 19 did what they did on 9/11, can you imagine what 120 million would do? And I think a lot of times it would just stop them in their tracks and they would go, you have a point. And the point was, there's not that many. And to the Muslims watching, or any minority watching, frankly, any immigrant watching, reach out to your neighbors, right? They don't bite, usually. Take them some biryani or dal chawal, I don't know.
Do a good deed for them.
Do a good deed. Give them mithai and tell them, hey, we're here and we're not going away as long as we have a visa. And if we don't have a visa, we talk to an attorney. No, but the reality is, and I'm trying to make light of a situation, but the reality is, this country was built on immigrants. Immigrants are not going anywhere. And I want to address one more point that you had brought up, that a lot of the living room conversations weren't really getting the megaphone anymore. And I think part of the reason is, and tell me your opinion, because they did get the megaphone for 200 years. They did kill Martin Luther King Jr. They did assassinate Malcolm X. They did attempt to assassinate JFK and LBJ when he wanted to pass the Voting Rights Act. So they had the voice.
Yes.
And their message was of hate, of fear, of love only amongst one race. And that message, I think America decided, was no longer welcome. And honestly, that is for both parties. There was not one party that said, we're going to be okay with white supremacy. They both came together and said, we're better than this as America, right?
And I mean, it was even with men, right? Like men were thought of being superior, and women didn't get right to vote
Wait,
for such a long time.
Men are not what? Learning something. Okay, I'm gonna get it when I get home. But yeah, exactly. Women didn't get the right to vote until 1919.
African American, it was like even Chinese people were persecuted. During so there's so many, like now LGBTQ. There's so many people that are just are being persecuted, or they're being shunned for who they are, and the acceptance of other people has just been an issue all throughout American history, right? It's not something new.
It's not new.
Right.
It's not new. Well, so we've talked a lot about general politics. We're going to get to know Salman and his campaign. We're going to get to know Salman personally right after these commercial breaks. So you're watching Hour of Power. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation so far. Put in the comments what you've liked so far. Disagree with me personally if you want, and we'll be happy to respond, and we'll be right back after these commercials.
Solar Company has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, OneSolarSolution.com. Which solar company offers in-house financing with the best rate and easy approval? OneSolarSolution.com. And which company has the best looking brand ambassador? No one else. OneSolarSolution.com. Look, I know you want solar, and everybody does, but you might think it's expensive. If we can't match your electric bill with our in-house financing, we'll cut you a check or gift card for $25 just for the try. Go to OneSolarSolution.com today.
Marine Mill Supply deals in casters and wheels since last 52 years. For more information, contact 9232431374, 9232421821, or you can visit our website www.mmscasters.com.
What did you do with the money you saved on electricity by switching to discount power?
I took all my friends out to dinner.
I paid off all my credit cards.
I took my whole family on a vacation.
I bought all this.
At Discount Power, saving you money on electricity is our business. What you do with it is yours. Great rates, great service. Simple. Visit discountpowertx.com today and save.
For all your real estate, residential or commercial needs, please contact Hassan Sumro at 972-333-4801. Hassan Sumro, Realtor at Keller Williams.
Welcome back to Hour of Power. This is your host, Ali Samana. You're watching One Solar TV because entertainment matters. My guest today is Salman Bhojani. He's an attorney, he's an entrepreneur, he's an immigrant like I am, but more importantly, he's running for State House. He wants to be elected as your House representative, if I'm saying this correctly.
Yes.
And he wants, and we want to give him the platform to talk about why it matters. So talk to us, most of my viewers watching, and include me in it, what does the State House do? Why does it matter?
Sure. So the State House governs the entire state and makes laws for the entire state. You're talking about healthcare. You talk about election, voting rights, right? You talk about how the abortion bill that has been going on right now. And so many other, the security and all that, right? Highways and transportation, healthcare and all that is really important for the state of Texas, especially a diverse state of Texas like we have right now, right? So there's a lot of things that come into play in the state.
And it's at that point, is it majority gets to pass the bill and it goes to State Senate?
Yes, so a bill is introduced in front of the legislature or a bill is introduced in front of the Senate, and then it has to go through both chambers. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and right now both chambers are controlled by Republicans.
Okay. And that's not going to change anytime in the future?
I don't know, I would like to think it would soon, but who knows when that happens.
So the question that I have as a voter, any voter that's in the state of Texas, and if they lean towards a party that is not in the majority, we talked about our votes not necessarily being counted for the presidential election. Why should I vote for Salman? I agree with his ideals. What can you do, right?
Sure. So I am the only candidate in this race that has been elected to any legislative body, right? I was elected to Euless City Council in 2018. And last year I was elected as the mayor pro tem for the city of Euless. And I've worked with Republicans and Democrats together to make legislation that works best for everyone.
So mayor pro tem is the second after mayor, and if the mayor is not there, you get to preside in the meetings.
Yes.
So it's a very, I don't want to say fancy, but it's a very cool position. Here's the cool thing about mayor pro tem. Tell me if I'm wrong. You're elected by your own city council, by your own peers.
That's exactly right.
Are they typically right-leaning, left-leaning politically?
So this is interesting. I was the only Democrat and the only minority on Euless City Council.
So
my colleagues that were Republican elected me as the mayor pro tem, which means a lot about how I've been able to work with them.
And I think that's important. There's and I'm going to say this, we're not by censor board or anything. There's a curse word in politics, and it starts with a C, and it's compromise.
Yes.
Right? We've got Ted Cruz. He will only compromise if you attack his wife, apparently, I guess. I don't know. Everything else is not compromisable. So compromise has become a bad word, especially in Washington, D.C., and I know in Austin, right? There are state representatives, by the way, that won't talk to me because they know that I don't agree with everything they say, right? So, and maybe they're a voter, right?
Yes.
So tell me how does that have to change, or can we just stick to our way, or do we have to
No,
compromise?
I think it has to change, right? I mean, we have to build a consensus. That's really important because most Texans are not too far right-wing or too far left-wing.
Okay.
They're more in the center.
Moderates.
They're more moderates, right? Because that's when legislation happens. When two parties work together and stop the partisan rhetoric and try to figure out what's best for their constituents, right? And that's what I did in Euless City Council. I tied everything back to my constituents, and my constituents will want this. I mean, we're having a cricket field coming up in Euless. Nobody knew about a cricket field in Euless, and nobody even knew what cricket is. You know, people thought that it was, the insect or the cell phone company.
Why would you want a field of insects?
Right? Yeah. So now it is. So and I was only one of the 7 legislative, bodies, right? So, or the elected officials. But we still were able to pass this because of the fact that I've been able to tie it back to the Euless residents and what would they want. And I think that's what we need to do in Austin.
Now, how do you work with, and you talked about moderates, so let's talk about some of those issues that you may be able to help push through.
Sure.
That maybe are not getting the attention today. So talk about some of those that maybe nonpartisan, bipartisan, that Salman would push for when elected.
Right. I think the healthcare is a big topic, right? Especially with the pandemic and especially with the insurance premiums that have been skyrocketing, huge. I mean, my family of 4 has to pay $1,500 a month for health insurance. That's not right, right? I mean, maybe I can afford it, but so many people can't afford health insurance premiums. We have the lowest. Texas is the lowest in terms of insured population. We have 5 million people that are uninsured in the state of Texas.
Did you say 5
5 million people.
5 million.
It's outrageous.
Now, here's the reality, though. You say they're uninsured, but aren't they insured by the safety net, per se, of the taxpayer? Because if they end up in the emergency room, somebody has to foot the bill.
You could say that, but at the end of the day, they may not go to the emergency room. They may just, they go to the doctor's office and they may not pay as much, or they may not even go to the doctor and they may pass away. Who knows, right?
But my point with that is that as taxpayers, we're already paying for
wasting. Yeah, exactly.
Right? We're already paying because they don't go to the doctor. They don't stay well. They don't stay healthy. They don't get their physical checks.
Sure.
The only access to the healthcare system they may have is the ER.
And the issue is, if we can pass Medicaid expansion, we will get new dollars into the Texas revenue. In the state revenue, we'll get new dollars.
Because that's federal.
That's federal money that is we're not getting right now because we're not passing the Medicaid expansion that the United States government has said. And so you and I are paying tax dollars to Washington. It never comes back to us because our governor says no to Medicaid expansion. And once we do that, we will have money on the table. Why would we leave money on the table, right? So that's why I say that we can use that for providing more insurance to people and therefore using less of our tax money.
That helps with Medicaid expansion.
Yeah.
A lot of North Texas may not fall into that category. They're still paying $1,500 for a family of 4, $2,000 for a family of 4. How would you help with that?
I think we need to hold the insurance companies accountable and to find out what is causing that spike, right? If we can, and again, because like you said, right, if hospitals are having to pay bills for people that are uninsured, their insurance money may go up, and so that's why obviously the actuaries are saying increase the premium. That's right. And so by hook or crook, we are paying for it. Why not add that federal dollars on the table so that we can pay for these things ourselves? Another thing is our women's rights, right? And I say that it does become a very big partisan issue, right? We have the most conservative abortion bill in the entire country.
Passed by mostly men.
Passed by mostly men. They're mostly Republican, and I feel that doesn't matter what your religion says, right? I mean, our religion, I don't think Islam is allows abortion, right, to that degree. But at the end of the day, people ask me that. I'm like, yeah, but at the end of the day, it's not about my faith. It's about should the state license everything that the religion says? Exactly. So if tomorrow, some religion says, hey, do this act, let's say, or Muslims say, everybody has to wear a hijab, everybody. Is the state going to pass a law that says every Texan has to wear a hijab? Yeah. That doesn't make sense.
And whose faith do you use at that point?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Every faith has something different.
Right.
I used to tell people, because I've been having this conversation with a lot of people, and I would tell them that, look, personally, I wouldn't want my sister, my wife, my daughters to have an abortion, because that's what my faith says.
Exactly. Yes.
Right? However, do I want the state telling them
Yeah.
that even in case of incest,
Sure.
even when
Or
it's
rape.
rape,
Yes.
life-saving, maybe even for the mother,
Right.
there's not a lot of exceptions, right? At what degree does the state, so a lot of times I think the challenge becomes faith versus the rights.
Yes.
So how do you convey that to your voters? Not necessarily just about abortion, but a lot of times it conflicts, right? Alcohol, sales, gambling, right? How do you convey that, hey, as a state representative, my job is to do what's best and what the Constitution allows, and not necessarily what the faith says?
I mean, you basically talk to them about the issues that matter to them the most and say how I can address those issues when I get elected to, State House. And it's just, again, faith can inspire you to do great things, but faith does not come into politics for the reason that our founders thought about separating church and state. And even in the Texas Constitution, there's no such thing as a dominant faith that everybody needs to have, right? Awesome. So let's say, should we say because Muslims don't drink alcohol, there should be no alcohol consumption? You can't do that, right? So it's a slippery slope. And so I think that makes sense to people. And again, it's just, this is really interesting. During the pandemic, a lot of people told me, even my Republican friends, they told me it's my body and my control, right? My choice. And so I tell them exactly, yes, if it is your body, your choice, the same thing goes for women. It's their body and their choice. So we need to talk about, reproductive rights and reproductive equality.
But you're making it sound like they flip-flop. They don't. They say, my body, my choice. Her body, my choice. Right? The my choice part stays the same. I mean, there's no problem with that. So coming back to now, are you familiar with, and I may throw you off for a loop here, but this one, once you get elected, I want you to at least look into this, because nobody might have brought this into you. So if somebody is driving uninsured here in the state of Texas, are you familiar with the law that allows them, that makes them pay a surcharge?
If you can find them, right? A lot of times, they'll flee a scene because they may not have insurance.
So I'll talk to the viewers here, and I'll talk to you, and I'll kind of talk about this, because I found this to be, back in other countries, we talk about corruption, and here it's not necessarily corruption, it's just stupidity, okay? And I'll share this with you, but I want your commitment that once you get elected, even 5 years from now, one day you will think back to this interview and you go, Ali said I should look into this.
Sure.
And change has to happen here, and here's what's going on. So you've got a surcharge for uninsured drivers. That surcharge goes to the state. There's a stupid law that says that money cannot be spent unless there is X amount in the fund. It has never hit that threshold.
Oh, wow.
So here's what's happening. Who does not have car insurance? Poor people, right? Let's be blunt here,
Sure.
right? Somebody that cannot afford car insurance does not have it, right? You and I and everybody else has car insurance.
Sure.
And so we're taking money from the very poor,
Right.
And I'm not justifying not having car insurance, but my point is, let's humanize the situation. They don't have car insurance, they don't have money, we're taking money from them, and then we're not even being anti-Robin Hood, we're just leaving it in some lockbox until it hits a threshold. I think there's close to $2 billion in that fund.
Wow.
And if I'm wrong, I'll post a correction or I'll apologize in one of the episodes, but I'm pretty sure I'd read an article almost 2 years ago, and it was close to $2 billion that was just sitting there because of a law. So if that happens, here's an extra $2 billion that can go to help our people.
I know, exactly.
Right, as opposed to...
So many things that we could be doing, like, I mean, building a wall, that's waste of resources, of our state resources. I mean, that should be, if former president wanted to build a wall, he would have his own money. Why are we spending our taxpayer dollars for that?
That's right.
I mean, and again, the whole thing about rhetoric on CRT, right? Critical race theory, and that's really shying away a lot.
You mean history?
Yeah, I mean, just teaching them, we should teach them the entire history, entire science. I mean, why are we excluding certain things because we think that's not, what we should be teaching our kids, or that makes us feel prejudice or whatnot. That's actually shying away a lot of good educators from our public schools.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've heard a lot about Salman Bhojani, the candidate. When we come back, we're going to get to know Salman Bhojani, the person. Yes, there's a person behind this banker suit, and we're going to get right into him. So I hope you're enjoying the show so far. I hope there's at least one or two things that we've brought to your attention that you may not have considered before. And if you've learned something new, put it in the comments. share this show. If you found this show worthwhile, well, I hope you'll tune in again here next week and hopefully continue watching. Don't change the channel, I would say, or go to another video on YouTube. We're going to be right back after these commercials.
Solar company has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, OneSolarSolution.com. Which solar company offers in-house financing with the best rate and easy approval? OneSolarSolution.com. And which company has the best looking brand ambassador? No one else. OneSolarSolution.com. Look, I know you want solar, and everybody does, but you might think it's expensive. If we can't match your electric bill with our in-house financing, we'll cut you a check or gift card for $25 just for the try. Go to OneSolarSolution.com today.
Marine Mill Supply. Deals in casters and wheels since last 52 years. For more information, contact 9232431374, 9232421821, or you can visit our website www.mmscasters.com.
What did you do with the money you saved on electricity by switching to Discount Power?
I took all my friends out to dinner.
I paid off all my credit cards.
I took my whole family on a vacation.
I bought all this.
At Discount Power, saving you money on electricity is our business. What you do with it is yours. Great rates, great service. Simple. Visit DiscountPowerTX.com today and save.
For all your real estate, residential, or commercial needs, please contact Hassan Sumro at 972-333-4801. Hassan Sumro, Realtor at Keller Williams.
Welcome back to Hour of Power on One Solar TV. My guest today is Salman Bhojani. He is a candidate for State House, State Congress, one or the other. I keep saying it wrong. But when he gets elected, he will make a difference. Or at least that's what he tells us, like every other politician. I joke. Here's the reality. We're going to get to know the real Salman. We're going to get to know who we're voting for. We're going to get to know who wants to represent us and why. We talked a lot about politics. What makes Salman Bhojani the real him? So Salman, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions.
Sure.
Give me as many answers as you can. So on a day-to-day basis, you're a very motivated individual. How do you improve on a day-to-day basis from one day to the next?
Yeah, keep looking at people that are sort of doing great things and get inspiration from them to make sure that I'm doing my part to get to them.
Who's your inspiration?
My inspirations are, the great business owners that have come before me that have really impacted our community in a big way, the elected officials that have paved the way for others to follow like me, our mothers and wives that do all the time. They're always constantly helping us get successful as well.
Now, you talked about business. In business, you will see some people that work very hard but aren't successful, and you'll see some people that work very hard and are successful. What do you think sets the two apart?
I think their nature of being driven, right? If you're driven, whether it's at 10 o'clock at night or on a Saturday, Sunday, whatever, I think, you are thinking about your business and seeing how I can connect two people and add value to them. And if you add value to them, automatically, things will happen that are benefiting you, right?
Okay. Who do you take advice from?
My wife.
Very nice. Who do you look up to?
My parents and other elected officials around me.
Okay. What keeps you going? How do you so you have a hard day, you knock on a lot of doors, you talk to a lot of people that a lot of times will tell you, I'm not going to vote for you.
Yes.
What makes you go the next day?
There's a lot of work remaining. I mean, there's so much to get to. Our state is at a tipping point where, we're seeing somewhat, changes wanting to come. And there's so much work. Like this past cycle was so bad that I feel that I need to work extra hard to make these laws like we talked about, SB 8 and all that, repeal them and make sure that we're working for the citizens.
Do you read on a habitual basis? I know campaign time may not
it's
be.
tough. It's tough. Yeah, just maybe news and articles like that.
Favorite book? Can you think of any?
To Kill a Mockingbird has been my favorite book for a long time.
Oh, and that's a great book.
Yeah.
That's very different than what I had imagined. That's a very good book. What is work-life balance to you?
Right now, there's no work-life balance. We're spending 14 hours a day on the campaign, but
your family is there with you.
The family, yeah, sure. Our family is there with me. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, they're helping me knock on doors. They're making phone calls on my behalf as well. So yeah, I mean, we're really blessed to have that good support.
So there is work-life balance when you bring life into work.
or family into work.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
How did you meet Nima?
I met her while volunteering at a nonprofit.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. What nonprofit?
So it was, at a school that our mosque had.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is her best advice to you?
To have work-life balance, because I don't have that balance.
Okay.
I hear them more than anything else.
And until the campaign is over, it's not going to happen. I can tell you that. Okay. How much does having a good life partner make a difference?
Everything. I mean, I devote my entire success in my legal career, in my political career, to my wife. I mean, me and Nima met when I was working at $6 an hour at a gas station, literally mopping floors and cleaning restrooms. So, I mean, she met me at the lowest point in life. I don't know what she saw in me.
It's the looks.
I don't know about that. But she saw probably somebody that could really persevere through a lot of things, I think, in life. And, I kept on sort of listening to her and succeeding in life. I mean, it's been really a great journey we've had so far. And she's been right there with me every step of the way. And so having a life partner that it goes hand in hand with you is everything in the world for me.
And you two are great together. I mean, I've seen you guys.
Blessed.
I know she campaigns for you. She is a spokesperson and an advocate for you.
She's a better candidate actually than I am.
That's good to have on your side, right? Let's talk about hobbies. What's your favorite hobby? What's your hobby?
I love playing ping pong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we have a ping pong table at the...
I would love that. Yeah.
I'm horrible at it, so you'll beat me easily, but Sami is good. One of our
I have one at my law firm too.
Really? Do you really? Okay. So you love playing ping pong. What else? What are some of your other hobbies?
Spending time with family, leading the Boy Scout troop that I have in my mosque. That's really good because I love the outdoors. My son is going to become an Eagle Scout soon, and
wow.
We do a lot of non-profit activity. We help a lot of people through that Boy Scout. So that's good. Just our firm goes out and does non-profit activity once a quarter. So I think giving back is one of also the hobby because it takes a lot of time.
Now you're a successful individual, a successful business person. What is an expensive or a guilty pleasure that you enjoy?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I don't know if I have. I used to like watches a long time ago, but then once the Apple Watch came out, I just buy that. That's probably the most.
So you have a phone on your wrist that you call a watch. Sorry. Okay. Best place you've ever visited?
I think I would say Hawaii.
Okay.
I went there for my honeymoon, and I recently went back. It's just really beautiful. It's just really calm and relaxing, and you're totally out in the middle of the ocean, and it's really fun. The surfing and just amazing.
So reality is for our viewers, we're doing this interview at 9:30 at night, and this is your energy level. What does a relaxed Salman Bhojani look like? I can't picture that right now.
I know, even my wife can't picture that. She's always like, I'm always, full of energy, wanting to do something or the other, right?
Exactly. Favorite food?
Salmon.
Okay.
Grilled salmon.
Ooh, favorite place to get it then?
Mesomea.
Okay.
Salmon de coco. Best dish.
Ooh, so I'm going to have to try it. I haven't tried it yet. Favorite drink?
Virgin pina colada.
Okay, very nice. Very good taste. And favorite vice?
I guess neglecting family a lot of times. I think I would say that because that's come up so often that, I've for all these things, I think people don't realize that behind an elected official, behind a politician, there's a lot of sacrifices that are being made, as we speak, like on a regular basis, that I neglect family quite a bit. Yeah. I neglect my businesses as well, right? My law firm, but my partners and people understand that. But, expecting my 13-year-old and a 16-year-old to understand that at a time that they look forward to meeting me the most, that stuff.
First crush?
Nicole Kidman.
Ooh, okay. Tom Cruise might have a problem with that. I don't know if she was married back then. So, before we go, I want to give you the floor. I want you to talk directly to our viewers. And I want you to tell them what it would feel like to be the first Muslim, first South Asian. Not that you're running on those traits, but those traits are a part of you.
Yes.
Right? We are who we are, and we're a dynamic person, right? You're an attorney, you're an entrepreneur, you're also Muslim, you're also South Asian. What would that mean, getting elected?
Yeah, so we have the opportunity to make history in our campaign by electing the first Muslim and the first South Asian to Texas legislature. There has never been in the history of Texas with that kind of credentials. And I feel that sets the path, and I'm trying to blaze a trail for a lot of our youth, a lot of our next generation to have a pipeline of candidates running for office at every level, right? From local to state to federal and to county as well. And I think it has to start at a local level. And so my hope is that once I make history, I can inspire a lot of people to follow this path and start local. And I am willing to help anybody that's watching that wants to enter politics but does not know how to do that. You can help campaigns. You can be, if you're in school, go to the student council, run for student council, run for something, because that will give you the courage, the confidence to run for elected office. And it really, really is awesome career because you can make such a huge impact on the lives of so many and give voices to so many people that do not have a voice in America, in Texas, in the cities that you live.
Will you swear in on the Quran?
That's a good question. That's a great question. So I'll tell you what I've done in Euless City Council, because the faith was a big part of, people made it a big part of me running for office as a city council member. When I got elected, people thought I'll recite the Quran as an invocation, because for the longest time, for the history, Euless has had a Christian invocation. In fact, I did the other way, where I made an interfaith invocation, that even if you're an atheist, you could subscribe to that, because I didn't mention the word God, because it was important for me to have not only interfaith community come together, but also just there's so much diversity. And why not do that?
But
right?
look,
why not?
Thomas Jefferson swore in on the Quran.
I agree.
Right?
Yep.
So
yeah.
Why not Salman Bhojani? Would you swear in on the Quran?
I can think about it, and I can be convinced this way. Yeah.
I want you to be the first Texas elected official to swear in on the Quran, because you won't see that, and we don't know for how long. Once you're elected, we don't know when the next person might come.
Yes.
Lastly, there's an open invite. Come back next season. Come back a season or two from now.
Absolutely.
Let's catch up.
Yes.
And let's talk about some of these progresses that we've made.
Absolutely. Would love that.
I want to thank my friend, my mentor, Salman Bhojani, for being here with us. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I hope you're going to tune in next week as we continue Hour of Power with Ali Samana here on One Solar TV. Salman, once again, thank you for being on One Solar TV.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.